Hey everybody, Bryn Zalazar here, and I'd like to thank you for joining me for another Final Fantasy XIV controller guide. This video we're going to be focusing on White Mage and really how I've set up the Cross Hotbar and my various macros to be able to heal at a very competitive level, and not just heal. Sometimes it's a lot of fun to be able to do damage as well, and you'll be able to do a lot of both. It really kind of as how your preference goes. So we're going to go ahead and get started. We're going to be talking about three main areas. The first main area, cross hotbar layout. I'm going to go over what I've got and how I've got that set up. Secondly, we're going to talk about kind of the macros that I'm using and how I've got that configured. And lastly, just some general tips and why I've chosen to do what I've done. So pretty straightforward, pretty simple with that so far. So I'm going to go ahead and lock my hotbar here, and let's go ahead and get started. So cross hotbar layout, we're going to start with the left, move our way to the right, pretty straightforward, and then I'm going to talk about what I've got here at the top and why I've got it that way. So on the left hand side, I've got a couple of healing spells and a couple of damage spells. This kind of is more my versatility. You'll see that I've got cleric stance, which is the stance you want to be in when you want to do damage, and I actually have that set to switch me to my third cross hotbar. If you've seen my warrior guide, you'll see that I'm able to switch cross hotbars in the stance that I'm in so that I can have a different set of skills. So this is very handy when really wanting to focusing in on a DPS role as a healer, or if you want to focus in on that pure healer role. And there's some very similarities that I run with, but we'll go ahead and get started with that. So I've got a macro called Wind Mage, so we'll review what that is in the macro section. We've got another macro, it's Medica, so it's not going to be anything magical. It's Medica 2, Medica 1, so if you're level synced and don't have access to Medica 2. I find that I might be able to burst heal more with Medica, but Medica 2 really does what I absolutely needed to do, and I haven't had any issues with that. I've got what I call Stone High, and that's a stone macro that kind of is also level synced as well. So as you level sync down, that's going to be use your highest level available stone spell. Healer buffs, this is going to be like Presence of Mind and just all of your various buffs that are going to return to you. There is obviously, and I want to kind of mention this, some debate. Some people don't think you should group some of these together. I'm going to actually let that be your choice, whatever's the most comfortable with you and makes you the most effective. But it is very helpful to be able to heal quicker and also restore MP together really fast. I've got apparently a macro that is called Stone High. However, it is actually my Wind macro, and I will try to correct that in the macro section. I have what I call Land Curing. So this is a both PvE and PvP macro skill. So that way I can kind of drop my little healing area on the ground. I've got my Cleric Stance DD, which will switch me to my Cleric Stance and to my kind of my more damage focused cross hotbar. And I've got Divine Seal here on the left hand side, which is going to really increase my ability to heal, especially in those tough and critical situations. It's great to pair, especially when you need to really get people up as quickly as possible. On the right hand side, we've got Nap Time, which is repose with some text, allows people to know what I'm doing. I've got, again, Stone High. It's apparently what I like to call these things. It's Stone Skin and Stone Skin 2 put together, so that way if I can cast Stone Skin 2, I will. Otherwise, it will Stone Skin on the target. Insuna is pretty basic, obviously to remove debuffs, etc. onto the target itself. Regen, obviously a wonderful spell, definitely a favorite of myself as a White Mage. Tetragrammaton, butcher that name, sorry. This is a great instant heal spell with a 60-second cooldown. It's definitely in my, as you can probably see here, here's my curing circle of love right there. And then as a part of that, I've got Cure 2, and Cure 3. And so if you've seen any of my other guides where I'm damaging or I'm tanking or whatever, I kind of have these cycles of 1, 2, and 3, especially on the right hand side, and so I have that same kind of structure here on my cross hotbar as well. So up here at the top, I've got Virus, Benediction, Aziz, Swiftcast, Presence of Mind, and Eye for an Eye. And I obviously, when you're playing with the controller, you're not going to use the mouse and go and click on these, but you obviously can if you are on a PS4 or you do have a mouse attached. I use these to be able to communicate various cooldowns for me, so that way I'm always in the know on what's going on and what I have access to. Now, on my L and R options, I've got Protect, and actually I'm going to switch to 2 because that's what this is. I've got Protect, I've got my Raise, and it will tell the user that they're getting raised. Swift Cast, Eye for an Eye, Aziz, Sprint, Benediction, and Holy. So when I'm in this stance, it's real easy to be able to pop off Swift Cast, Holy, Aziz, Raise. I really have access to these spells for really quick and easy access. All right, so that's obviously kind of what I call the healing set. So the damage set is in Cross Hotbar 3, but an easy way for me to get to Cross Hotbar 3, because I macroed it, is to go into my Cleric Stance DD. So I'm in Cleric Stance DD, and my set has now been shifted to 3, and so you can see I have a different layout. I kept the right-hand side, especially with my Cures, Tetragrammaton, Regen, and Suna, the same, because especially when I'm damaging, I want it to be muscle memory if I need to cure. Now, I'm in Cleric Stance, so I'm not going to be curing for as much, but at least if I need to get that spell out there before, and hopefully I'll realize, obviously, that I'm still in Cleric Stance, etc. But this way, it's more of a muscle memory way of curing, and it goes from there. I've shifted and put land curing in place of stone skin and Aziz right here, so I can cure and damage with this. I can also put that healing location on the ground really easily. So the difference is over here, I've really just focused in on my damaging spells. Arrow 2, Arrow 3, Stone 2, and Stone 3. And I've macroed, you'll see that these together with like Fluid Aura and stuff like that. So I'll show you those macros here in a bit. And obviously Holy right here. I still have instant access to these sets of skills, holding down the L and the R trigger at the same time. But it's really nice for that. Now, I'm probably going to have to do a new guide video as soon as the double cross hotbar comes out. I'm going to have to play with that for a little bit, and it very well might mean that you could kind of shift to just kind of one hotbar, etc., and use the double. But we'll kind of see and play it by ear for that. But that's how my layout's pretty structured. This is a really handy and useful way of getting around and having a lot of skills and not losing access to any particular skill that you want. Sure, you might favor stone 2 over stone 1, but sometimes you might want to try to apply that heavy anyway, just to have that extra debuff. And since Arrow 2, and Arrow 3 all have their own dots, that's just going to add that extra DPS for you there as well. So shifting back to 1, now it's time to get into my favorite topic, macros. Because obviously I am constantly filling up on these. Very excited to see what changes they make in the future. So first things first, let's go ahead and rename this. Let's go call it water air. So for this macro, which is right here, so now water air, is going to be Fluid Aura, and then it's going to be Arrow. So if I'm within range and Fluid Aura is off cooldown, it will use it. So this is really handy, especially if a monster runs up to you. You do need to make a note and be careful that you're not pushing enemies out of the way of the tank or disrupting the flow of battle. But this is a great defense. It's also a great amount of damage that you could apply extra, especially if that mob isn't movable. You can always run up, Fluid Aura, Arrow, and then run out. And you'll notice that I do, on several of these macros, especially for a healer, I do TT and then I do T. And so what this means is that it's my target's target. So if I'm most likely focusing kind of on the tank, this is going to attack whoever he's targeting, which most likely is the main monster that we should all be focusing in on. And same thing kind of goes for Arrow. And then Wind Mage. So you'll see here with this is that I've got Fluid Aura. Again, if I'm attacking, if I'm trying to cast off any kind of spell and they're within range, I want to drop that Fluid Aura. This is completely up to you. Feel free to do that if you wish. Kind of play around with it, see what gives you the most comfort level and excitement. But just because I'm doing it, don't feel like you have to always include this in each one of your macros. And then you'll see Arrow 3, and I'm doing the TT and then the T. So target of my target and my target, Arrow 2 and Arrow. So this is kind of just this way of saying, well, you know, if I get into any level sync content, I don't have access to arrow 3, well, at least it will try arrow 2 and then arrow. The reason I also do this is that, you know, most likely this is on just my regular bar, but when I switch to my kind of my DD stance, you'll see that I have access to all 3 individually. And I did that, you know, obviously for that reason. So I can kind of reduce that. I don't have to worry about, you know, futzing with my hotbars whenever I go into any level sync content, etc. Stone High, which is the appropriate name for this one. Aura, Stone 3, Stone 2, Stone 1. And it goes in that approach. So it's going to try my target. If it can't, it will do my target's target, and so on and so forth. So this is very handy. So we're going to call this Stone Skin. Because that's a little bit less confusing. So we've got Stone Skin and the Focalization, which is a PvP ability. And I've put that in here as I'm using this as needed. And then you'll see that I'll, you know, use Stone Skin, try Stone Skin 2, and then Stone Skin. And it really doesn't matter, but it works well, and it does exactly what I needed to do. Medica, like I said, it wasn't magical, so it's Medica 2 and Medica. So it's going to use the highest Medica that I have available using that fail-through method. Land Curing, Sacred Prism is a PvP ability, and then you see Asylum. And so what that does is it allows me to not have to do the ground targeting as a part of the controller. This feature came in patch 3.2. Highly recommend it for controller users to be able to place that those land abilities. You'll find that you're using them more. Some people might, you know, not want to put that into a macro, and that's okay. If you use the ability itself, you will need to target where it's going to be placed. Raise, pretty straightforward. If I have Divine Breath in PvP, I'll use it. Otherwise, I'll use Raise, and then you'll see no time arise, it's no time to rest, etc. So Cure 2 is going to use a PvP ability that I've set as well, and this is just my preference. You don't necessarily need to use that whatsoever. And again, and I didn't really cover it in this video, but I have in my others, Macro Icon is going to use the icon that for the actual ability, so you will see it actually use its cooldown. Let me target myself. So you will see the cooldown, you will see when combos go off, that it will get highlighted, and so forth and so on. So I'd highly recommend using Macro Icon for the ability in your case and what you need. And for Asuna, I'm using Asuna Purify, so that way I can purify anybody who I'm playing in PvP, and then I can also purify myself, especially if I can't obviously target any of those, so that will fail through. Nap time, like I said, it's repose, nothing magical. So here's my healer buff. So you'll see mana draw and equanimity, and those are obviously PvP abilities. Presence of Mind and Shroud of Saints I have put together. This is my preference. I haven't had any issues with endgame content. I am also, not doing Savage. So if you're looking for, you might want to break the Presence of Mind and Shroud of Saints up if you're doing Savage, but pretty much for everything else it works just fantastic without any problems for me whatsoever. And so then here's kind of the big highlight. So you see I have 2 cleric stances DD, so it's going to turn cleric stance on. Attunement is a PvP ability, it's completely optional for you there. And then you can see here it's the same thing, but the only difference is this last line. So you see hotbar change 1 on that ability. This is C hotbar change 3. So this is the main ability that I've got. So using it is now I'm going to be in my stance 3. You can see that from change 3. Then here is the cleric stance heals, so it will turn off that ability and return me back to 1. And now I'm back on 1, and so my cleric stance is off. And so that's pretty straightforward macros, in my opinion. I'll try to make sure I put that text up there on the screen, so that way you can easily see that. And I'll try to include some of these macros in the description of the video, and hopefully that kind of helps. So obviously cures for yourself, like a nice little regen. This will generate aggro, so try not to put too much HP regening abilities on before the fight. Otherwise you are now the tank when playing White Mage. So again, like I've got my healing spells, so cure, Oh, you know, combo cure 2 for 3 cure. It's always nice. Oh, great combo. That's perfect. So, and then cure 3. And get that over cure. Do Tetragram. I can apply Stone Skin. All this works very naturally and very easy. But let's talk kind of about damaging and etc. So I'm going to put on my attack and drop arrow. Now I'm in the battle mode. Drop arrow 2. Arrow 3 is a nice little AoE arrow, and you can see I get 3 dots that way. Don't need to really worry about heavy in this case. I could have actually probably just focused solely on Stone Skin 3. Cheese, holy. Reapply my arrow dots. Playing as a healer, you know, especially White Mage, is one of my all-time favorite jobs in the Final Fantasy Online world, and I've really just come to appreciate everything they've done. So here's me putting down the cure ability with the macro. So it's because I'm targeting the striking damage. Obviously, I'm not going to cure him, but if I want to run in and give a little extra HP, I can do so there as well. So I'm going to go ahead and run out of that. I hope this has been a help. I mean, obviously, like, I guess, you know, tips for the healer is, you know, keep the tank alive and then try to keep everybody else alive. You know, manage your MP. You know, as you learn the fights, you just try to, you know, be able to respond to situations as they arise, and so you can handle them and do what you need. But it's pretty straightforward. Like, it's some of the most fun I've had in the game in and of itself. It allows me to really kind of help out, you know, my team and my party. So with that, like, I don't feel like there's much else I can add outside of the macros and the setup in which that I've got the layout. And so I'm actually interested if anybody else has a better layout, or if they would change anything about mine. You know, feel free, like, as you're you know, getting used to healing, or if you're healing and you want to try a different control scheme, or maybe you've been struggling healing on the controller on PS4 or on the PC, or even the PS3 for that matter. If you're struggling, or you got questions, or if there's anything you want me to expand upon as a part of this layout, please leave me a comment below. I'd be happy to help and, you know, try to encourage, you know, more people to really kind of play the way that they want. So with that, I'm really thankful for you guys for hanging out, and I'll see you next time.